Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Logan, the Metal and Beer Snob, and I'm back with another one of my go-to videos, if you will. If you're familiar with this channel, you know I'm a cheap bastard, and I always liked to shop the deals, and for me, the ultimate way to do that is by visiting Goodwills and local thrift stores in my area. So this is one of those videos where I'm showing off my recent hauls from the local, nickel and dime stores, if you will. And there's some good stuff here. I'm gonna tell you, I did alright over the summer months around the New Orleans area. Crack a beer, put on a record, and let's explore some shitty, cheap music together. Since this is a video about a man being on a budget, I have to drink my man on a budget beer, and when it comes down to it, I get the old Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's got the ribbon for a reason, right? It came in first at some point in history. And truthfully, as a hipster, deep down, Pabst is always one of my favorite go-to cheap beers. So, cheers. Now let's see what stuff I found at Goodwill. So first off, I got really lucky. One of my favorite bands of all time is Alice in Chains. Probably one of the biggest bands to really open up the world of heavy music for me. And I somehow lucked into multiple consecutive Alice in Chains finds at these Goodwills. The first one was one of their newer albums, Rainier Fog. This one came out in 2018 and is, I guess, the last album that they've released. This one really kind of saw them let William Duvall take a little bit more of the reins. It still has Jerry Cantrell all over this thing, but you can definitely tell there's some more separate influence here. And that's partially why I didn't buy it when it came out. Because I said, Alice in Chains is one of my favorite bands, but I guess I was just waiting to find it for the right price. That being said, I've listened to this a couple times, and this is a great album. And honestly, I think I neglected it when it first came out. Tracks like Red Giant, Drone, they're good ones, and that really capture what I enjoyed about some of the other comeback Alice in Chains albums. So glad to finally have Rainier Fog by one of my all-time favorite bands. I already have this album, but shit, certain albums I will own multiple times on the same format. So this is Alice in Chains' perfect comeback album, Black Gives Way to Blue. This came out in 2009, and I bought the digipack version of this the day it came out, and I'm pretty sure it might have been my first physical releases that I ever purchased back in 2009. That was really when I was first getting into collecting media. Needless to say, this album holds a very special place in my heart, and I'm happy that I now get to have a jewel case version of it. I am being collector scum with this Alice in Chains album. I'm sorry, it's a favorite of mine. Songs like Last of My Kind, Your Decision, A Looking in View, Acid Bubble, Private Hell, Take Her Out. A great combination for an Alice in Chains album that I still love. Happy to own another version of this. There's another Alice in Chains find I had. This is a compilation / greatest hits called Nothing Safe. So, I buy any Alice in Chains that I see, essentially. And this one actually contains some music that I don't own yet. So, we have Get Born Again, and then also What the Hell Have I, which is track 12 on here. But in addition to these, we got a mixture of demos and live tracks like We Die Young demo, Rooster Live, a great version of Got Me Wrong, which is off of the MTV Unplugged era. Definitely just happy to have another section of the Alice in Chains catalog. There are certain bands I am an actual completionist in. Alice in Chains is one of them. Going to more extreme metal territory, this is probably one of the best finds. This is an Opeth album I've been missing and been wanting to get. This is Ghost Reveries. Yeah, this blew my mind when I saw it in the thrift store. God knows how this ended up at a thrift store, but this is Opeth back when they were still like really dancing with that perfect meld between their prog elements and their death metal elements, and everything was just on fire with this album. It opens with Ghost of Perdition, for crying out loud. Atonement is on here. The Grand Conjuration is on here. Great album, and one that, as I said, I never ended up picking it up. And thanks to Goodwill, I now have it. And then this is a weird, random find. I was stunned when I happened upon this at Goodwill, because it was one of those days where I was just seeing Broadway performance after Christian rock, after throwaway 90s garbage in the Goodwill bins, and then all of a sudden I happen upon Deicide's greatest hits, and I was like, holy fuck, what the hell? Death metal's most extreme band sitting there at a Goodwill. I read the fine print, and this is actually the greatest hits from their earache era, which is only spanning a 3-album period in the 2000s. This only includes songs off of 2004's Scars of the Crucifix, 2006's The Stench of Redemption, and 2008's Till Death Do Us Part. These are all albums I was unfamiliar with, but I gotta tell you, I am ready to get familiar with them after hearing some of these songs on here, especially the ones from The Stench of Redemption. That shit sounds just heavy and like there's a lot of, evil purpose behind them. So, certain songs on here are just classic Deicide. And then we got Homage for Satan, Hate of All Hatreds, Fuck Your God. It's just funny envisioning like someone at Goodwill picking this up and seeing, a track like Fuck Your God on the back of an album. So, happy to own more Deicide, because this is a band that I actually do not have much by. And then from there, we get a bit more prog. This is Night Verses with their debut, Lift Your Existence. So Night Verses is a somewhat supergroup, if you will, from like some post-hardcore bands. I'll post their names here. And this is kind of when they were trying to find their footing of what they wanted to be as a band. So I love this band because of their instrumental metal album, From the Gallery of Sleep. That's a 10 out of 10 perfect album for me. And this one right here, they still have a post-hardcore vocalist on it. It's different, but it works. I don't know if I would have tracked it down otherwise, but I'm glad to own this, especially since I am a real big fan of this band and their output. So, Night Verses, Lift Your Existence. And then from there, we even get a little weirder. So I'm still getting familiar with the industrial scene, if you will, and this band, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, is one I am new to. And this is their album, Confessions of a Knife. It's dark, it's kind of sleazy, it's kind of mean too, but most importantly, it's fun. It's a fun listen. Continuing to dive down the industrial rabbit hole, I'm happy to have this. Gotta highlight the CD too. I like the design they got on it. And then going from there, We've got a classic 90s band for me. This is CKY with Volume 1. This is a remaster reissue. And this contains their ultimate song to me, 96 Quite Bitter Beings. If you don't know that song, fucking look it up. It's got the perfect riff. It's so zany and off the wall, but it's memorable as hell. This is just a great album overall of that late 90s, like, alternative metal era. Like, this isn't new metal, but this is definitely not like metal. So it's a fun in between. Might be an album that only I'm a fan of, but I'm definitely a CKY guy. Happy to finally own their debut, which is my favorite. And then I've been lucky in finding this guy's albums at Goodwill, and here's another one. Joe Satriani with his Crystal Planet album. I haven't given this one a spin yet, so I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself. But I don't know. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of like guitar shred albums, but Joe Satriani has such a unique, like, upbeat, jazzy style. I've enjoyed the albums that I currently have by him, like Surfing with the Alien and stuff. So if I find another one of his at Goodwill, I pick that shit up. And Crystal Planet is no different, so I'll have to report back about how I like this one. And then a favorite, like, metalcore band from the 90s for me is Cave In. And yeah, this is not metalcore, if you're curious. Fits squarely in their Foo Fighters era, if you will, the Cave Fighters. This came out in 2002, I believe, a year before Antenna came out, which is the most Foo Fighters inspired album, if you will. And this is their EP, Tides of Tomorrow. So it's a good transition between Jupiter and where Cave In ends up going. It's got all the classic, like, Steve Brodsky vocal melodies and stuff, and still enough aggression to be engaging. I definitely enjoy it as an EP. I'm also biased. I love Cave In. And then let's see, getting to some punk here, we have Anti-Nowhere League, and this is their anthology release. So this is like a greatest hits. It's actually a 2-disc set. So I really lucked into this one. The only reason I was familiar with the Anti-Nowhere League is because of a cover that Benediction did of their song We're the League. And because of that, I knew they were like a punk band from Britain. And I don't know, I do like certain hardcore punk releases, and I'm always willing to dive in and to check more new stuff out. So this one has definitely been fun to listen to. I've given it a couple spins. It fits the right, like, anthemic, chugging beers with the boys kind of mood. Happy to own some Anti-Nowhere League. And then a punk album from the States now. Here we got The Farts. Jesus Christ, that name, and look, that fucking album cover too. This is their album, What's in a Name? And of course we got the Clintons and the Gores looking stylish as hell. This was released on Alternative Tentacles, so Jello Biafra's label. This is apparently some, like, classic Seattle punk, I believe. Some of the guys that were in this band did go on or were in The Accused also. So it's vicious, and it's almost grind or power violence territory at times with how fast these songs are. It's a fun listen. It's, fucking obscene and stupid in the best of ways. Warning: prolonged listening could stimulate mind growth. Cheers. Showing off what I'm listening to in the background. This is Lowercase with their album Kill the Lights. So this is an interesting bridge between post-hardcore and post-rock. Like, it's not instrumental. There's still vocals and stuff, but at the same time, it is very much meant about building atmosphere and just building to these grand crescendos. This is a cool transition album for the genre, and really one that was a blind buy for me. I mean, it's tough to call it a blind buy when it was only $1 to begin with. I didn't know what to expect, and to tell you, it blew my expectations away. This is an amazing album right here. I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of that interesting transition between the atmosphere of post-rock and like the slightly aggressive nature of post-hardcore. And I have to commend one of the reasons why I picked this up. On track 7, which is the one we're actually listening to right now, the atmosphere is courtesy of Toad Liquor, which is one of those like extreme sludge bands that I love. They almost play around with like some harsh noise bits. So that was one of the reasons why I ended up picking this album up. Pick up a good cassette single if you can. There's nothing quite as fun as just putting on a fucking cassette single for like 5 minutes. I mean, come on. Especially when it's a song as iconic as Beck's Loser. This is a 25-cent purchase, and one that I have easily gotten my 25 cents out of. I love this song. It's stupid and fun in all the right ways. And then finally, I got to end on a Wham. Yep, saving the best for last. This is kind of a way to show that sometimes I'm not just buying metal music, I'm buying really any kind of genre that I feel like could be fun to add to the collection. And Make It Big by Wham is one of those albums that I think is just worth owning if you're just a fan of music and you enjoy sharing music with other people. I mean, come on, like, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, probably one of the catchiest, worst songs, but still fun, that you can think of. We've got Everything She Wants, and then of course it closes with Careless Whisper. Talk about a bar closer right there. So, gotta wrap it up with Wham. But yeah, that's enough Goodwill finds for now. There's more over here, but I'll save them for later, and I'll save you guys from suffering through it until later. But hey, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for cracking a beer with me, and cheers. Drink good beer, listen to good metal.